Sure, everybody talks about the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis, but I had the original 16-bit console, the TurboGrafx 16. Sure, it was overshadowed by the Genesis that came out a year later, and sales in the US were pretty bad due to a lack of marketing, and the fact that the TurboGrafx had a graphics processor of 16-bit, but the central processor was only 8-bit, which a lot of people saw as false advertising. Also, the games were all on these weird little card things, but whatever. So I decided I would do a rundown of all my favorite games for this weird forgotten middle child of the console wars. Okay, it was never really in the console wars. It was more sitting on the sidelines eating crayons, but I still loved it. So, in no particular order.
Battle Royale.
Little Mischief loved wrestling. Ultimate Warrior was my idol, till he went weird and started his own religion. But Ultimate Warrior vs. Hulk Hogan was the defining moment of my childhood development. So I got every wrestling game I could get my hands on, and this one was fine. You pick from a roster of 5 wrestlers: Mongo Khan, Sumo Master, the Meat Eater, Spitfire Spike, and my man, the Executioner. Of course, the Executioner is the best. He wears a black mask with spikes on it. You pick your character in this weird minigame where you play a manager literally fighting to get your pick. This just feels wrong. Then you step into the ring. Punch each other in the face until their wristbands flash red and you can throw them out of the ring. It's simple, but I got endless hours of fun out of it.
Bloody Wolf.
You are standard issue army guy number 1 or standard issue army guy number 2, off to save the kidnapped president and a bunch of random hostages, I guess. The bad guys have some decent variety. You get different weapons and grenade types, and the boss fights were interesting. Actually, that seems to be a theme with a lot of these games. Between mowing down the rank and file cannon fodder, you get some pretty good boss fights.
Bomberman 93.
It's Bomberman. You probably know Bomberman. He walks around mazes, drops bombs. But it was my first Bomberman, so it holds a special place in my heart.
Bonk's Adventure.
You play a caveman with a syphilitic head, and you use this massive noggin to slam into a variety of creatures on your way to save Princess Za from the evil King Drool. You eat lots of fruits and vegetables to keep your health up, and down some meat to lose your damn mind. Eat one rib and Bonk hits a little harder. Eat a second rib or just one massive rib, and Bonk becomes invincible, and he can slam the floor to turn all enemies into stone. And again, the creative and difficult boss fights are really the highlight of this game.
Clax.
Okay, this one has a story. One Christmas, my cousin didn't get me a gift, so he said he would take me to the store and buy me a game. But since he wasn't into video games, he clearly didn't know how much they were going to cost. It was pretty clear the price was making him uncomfortable, so I just pointed out the game that was cheapest, which turned out to be this pretty clever puzzle-type game. Colored blocks make their way down this conveyor belt, and you need to make horizontal, vertical, or diagonal lines of 3, 4, or 5 of the same color. Each column can hold 5 blocks, and your flipper thing can also hold 5 blocks, letting you store some for later so you can plan ahead. While it starts out pretty easy, the speed that the blocks start flying at you and all the different objectives required to complete each level, the game gets pretty stressful.
Legendary Axe 2.
You're a guy? You get beat by this other guy, and I'm guessing you head out on a quest for vengeance? I guess? I don't know. The intro for this one's pretty short. And you don't even end up fighting the guy at the end, so I don't really know what any of this was all about. Anyway, you get a variety of weapons to kill a variety of enemies with some platforming and this stupid waterfall section. And for some reason, this definitely not Conan the Barbarian ends up in the future fighting robots. But I guess that's just a thing that happens in video games sometimes. It's a pretty typical hack and slasher type game, but typical doesn't mean it wasn't fun.
New Adventure Island.
Gameplay is the same as Legendary Axe, but in this one you're some kind of island guy who wears a grass skirt and a baseball hat for some reason. Also, you ride a skateboard. Just roll with it. Your wife and a bunch of the village people get kidnapped, and it's up to you to save them, which you do by running to the right and throwing whatever you pick up off the ground at anything alive. Beat a boss, save a villager, and then we get a little cutscene of our guy doing a dance.
R-Type.
A pretty standard side scrolling ship shooter. Grab power ups to shoot better, hold down the shoot button to shoot harder, and try to avoid the bombardment of death balls coming at you because your little ship can only take one hit before going down in a blaze of glory. Also, this one's surprisingly short. You can plow through it in about a half hour, but it was fun while it lasted.
Splatterhouse.
Finally, my favorite game of the whole series, Splatterhouse, where you play a legally distinct Jason Voorhees and murder hobo your way through a series of levels for no reason whatsoever. Okay, there's a story, but the game can't even be bothered to tell you what it is. Two kids wander into a house, one of them turns into not Jason and goes on a murder spree to find the other. But the other kid has also been turned into a monster, so off-brand Jason kills them, then moves on to kill the house by destroying its womb? Don't think about it. The game isn't about story. It's about using 2x4s and shotguns to get revenge on a house for what it did to you and your girlfriend. And those were some of Young Mischief's favorite games growing up on a weird console that few people remember. You know, I checked some best TurboGrafx 16 games of all time lists, and none of these games are on them, which says something about my taste in games when I was a kid. Maybe I should play some good games. See you next time.